So today I'm going to talk about the shadow of avoiding confrontation. And avoiding confrontation is not always a shadow, but it is a shadow if your karmic lesson is to stop avoiding confrontation. And in general, avoidant types of people tend to avoid confrontation when what would actually develop them and progress them forward and mature them would be to face a confrontation with maturity, with stability, with calm, with openness. I've known a lot of people in my life, or I've heard their stories of how, they thought they were doing the spiritual or the peaceful thing by, for example, leaving a marriage and just disappearing into their own life and allowing that their former partner leave them nothing and just turning the other cheek. And then as they progress through their life gets more and more small, right? Less connection, less abundance, less of everything, just less and less and less. They don't expand, they contract because they didn't learn the lesson, right? When you learn your lesson, your life expands. And we all have different desires. It doesn't necessarily mean you get richer or you have X, Y, or Z, but you certainly have more connection, more happiness, more peace. But I've seen people who think that they're doing a spiritual thing by turning the other cheek and avoiding a situation, which is really they're avoiding their own feelings and avoiding being uncomfortable ultimately. And then they shut down their heart. And their life gets smaller and smaller and smaller. So you know that you've learned a lesson in a situation when your life gets better afterwards. And better depends on who you are and what you desire. It doesn't necessarily mean, like I said, that you have more money, although oftentimes it does. More abundance in all forms, more freedom, more connection, more joy, more fun, more peace, certainly more peace. But if you avoid a confrontation and you shut down, then your life is going to get smaller. Sometimes the lesson is to not confront and to turn the other cheek. But this is why we have to understand kind of like the science of karma and how individual it is. We cannot homogenize and universalize advice and say, oh, the spiritual thing to do or what love would do is to turn around and not face the situation, right? If someone stole your car, the loving thing to do is not to not file a police report, because we all know that, right? We all know that. It's actually the most loving thing to do because that person that stole your car is in a lackful vibration, and your intention in filing the police report is just to make yourself whole, not to harm the other. It all comes down to intention. It's not about what you do, it's about the intention behind what you do. And so often, in my life, I've known a lot of kind of battered women that think that running away from a situation will give them more peace, when in actuality, what they're being asked of on a soul level is to have clarity, put their foot down. No, that doesn't mean be aggressive or cruel, but that means, draw a line in the sand, right? I put 20 years into this marriage and you're not going to just try to take everything from me. I'm not going to do that, right? And if you can face a situation like that with stability, like nothing can shake you, which is the ultimate reward, right? Is to be the cause and not the effect. Is to be the cause and not the effect. So I just wanted to throw it out there that avoiding confrontation is actually a big shadow for a lot of people in the spiritual community. And you know it because they become more emotionally fragile, more judgmental, more closed. When you learn a lesson, you have more peace, more joy, more freedom, and you receive more, period. So you know what your lesson is by the result of the choices you make. For the longest time, right, I used to think that sending people love and light and just never putting my foot down and never creating hard boundaries, even in very like serious situations, I thought that like just sending them positive energy was the answer to everything, and it's not. And what's so interesting is that my life dramatically changed for the better. More freedom, more clarity, more peace, more health when I stood up for myself, because that was my lesson. And it's not just about standing up for yourself. Avoiding confrontation is not just about avoiding standing up for yourself. It's also about avoiding taking accountability. Avoidant types of people don't like to take accountability. And of course, that would progress and evolve them so much and bring them so much more peace, joy, love, and abundance. But yet people think so small, and they don't want to take accountability for maybe the way they've hurt other people or whatever the case may be. And so they just run away from the situation, and they have probably an even worse situation in their next encounter. So, you know, I understand, I have compassion that it's almost, the words that are going to come out of my mouth are going to frame this in a way that makes it seem silly, yet this is what humans do. People avoid discomfort like the plague. Taking accountability, working on your self-esteem, like working on a boundary, even though it might be the most uncomfortable thing, it stretches you so much. But the consequence of not doing that is shrinking, literally shrinking. Every time we complete a karmic contract, we expand. So besides this thing about avoiding confrontation, there's so many things that people think are the universal answer in spirituality of what you're supposed to do in a situation, but there's no such thing as what you're supposed to do. The only way you know what you're supposed to do, what you are supposed to do, is if you pause and ask. What is being asked of me? Why did my soul want this experience? Why did my soul really want this experience? What virtues do I need to integrate into my personality? What do I need to develop in myself to become a vibrational match to my heart's desires? What do I need to do? There's no just homogenized universal answer to that, because for some people have to learn how to be less selfish. Some people have to learn how to be more selfish, right? If you are used to losing yourself in relationships and environments, and you know, you can be the peacemaker and the mediator, and that's comes so easily to you, but you don't have like a driving force of like a target you're trying to reach, or like a North Star for you. Like your whole identity is based on your relationships, which is a lot of time happens with empaths. A big part of your karmic recalibration is to narcissate, which is something that I've talked about, in other videos. Narcisating means to actually discover who I am in a selfish way, because I have no fucking clue who I am, because all I've identified with is my environment. So I completely have ignored what I want. Right? And I've talked extensively about that. So somebody's path might be like almost the opposite of another person's path. It's all about balancing the energy. It's about balancing the male-female. If you're all the way on the left side in unconscious feminine energy, being a doormat, getting lost in your environment, you don't have the male ability to focus and move forward and create things, right? You need that ability. But people that are obsessed in their unconscious male energy, and they're so forward thinking, and all they care about is their career, they will attract people that will bring them more into the present moment, more into their feelings, because that would balance their energy, that would balance their male and female energy, because we can only be enlightened if our male and our female are balanced. So we're gonna bring to us the lessons we need to balance our male and female energies. So I hope this was helpful, and I hope you have a beautiful day.